It's April, which means showers, fools, taxes, and video games. Here are the biggest ones coming out this month. Yeah! Stand aside, Solid Snake, because Konami has a new game featuring a Master of Stealth. If you've been hungry for some tactical octopus action, Darwin's Paradox should satiate your appetite for a cunning cephalopod caper. As Darwin, you'll need to harness the abilities of this stranded sea creature to overcome the dangers and traps lurking in a mysterious industrial complex. Another wholesome game to add to your list this month is Fishbowl, a narrative game about dreams, grief, and hope. A journey of self-discovery that unfolds over the course of a month, Fishbowl explores the moments where you become an adult and see your childhood in a new light. Ultimately, the game aims to explore ways to create a fulfilling life, even when you're living in isolation. At long last, Starfield is dropping out of hyperspace and onto PS5 in early April. Bethesda says this new edition of the game will take full advantage of the PS5 hardware, including support for the DualSense controller's adaptive triggers, touchpad, and light bar. PS5 Pro players can also choose from a performance mode to prioritize higher frame rates or Pro Visual mode to focus on graphical quality, and major updates in the future will transform Starfield into the, quote, most complete version of the game. One part musical, one part turn-based RPG, People of Note leans heavily into its melodic themes as every battle plays out like a grand performance. Featuring evolving combat conditions and real-time rhythm-based attacks, it's up to players to assemble their own band and bring order to the world's musical energies before it's too late. It might be heresy to some, but a Pokemon game that focuses purely on battling and doesn't feature any tedious grinding or exploration sounds like a fun time. That's the role that Pokemon Champions will fill, as it's a battle-focused game that features familiar mechanics from the series and is aimed at newcomers and experienced players alike. It'll be launching first for Switch consoles this month, and it'll be coming to mobile devices later in the year. A hidden object game centered around the theme of Where the Hell is My Cat? A planet full of cats will let you explore richly illustrated environments on a planet in the Federated Feline System. Billed as a hidden object adventure with Metroidvania-style exploration, discovering secrets will, in turn, unlock new areas and powerful gear that can be used to find wayward kitties. We're at that stage of reality where leaving the rat race behind and opening up a quaint bookstore sounds pretty tempting, and you can do just that without needing to secure a significant amount of capital when Tiny Bookshop hits Switch 2 and PS5 this month. Cyberpunk platformer and beat-em-up Replaced has spent quite a few years in development, but at long last, one of the precious few Xbox Series X and S console exclusives is out soon. Don't worry, PC players, you're also getting the game. Set in a good-looking dystopian hellscape, Replaced mixes puzzles, platforming, and Arkham-inspired action into a journey of self-discovery for an AI that finds itself trapped in a fleshy body. It's taken more than a decade to materialize, but at long last, a brand new Tomodachi game is out this month. Just like its predecessors, Tomodachi Life Living the Dream is a social simulation game where you get to interact with adorable Miis as they go about their lives. Where the game differs from the likes of The Sims and Inzoi is that it's downright weird and chaotic, as the best-laid plans to govern your Mii citizens can often fall apart. Don't worry, the stakes are low, the gameplay isn't demanding, and the consequences are mild, so this looks like a fun way to play God and engage in some hijinks of the wacky variety. We've gone roughly, let me just check my watch here, 17 minutes without playing a Lovecraftian thriller, so it's time to rectify that with Cthulhu: The Cosmic Abyss, an atmospheric adventure where you have to match your wits and sanity against cosmic forces in this futuristic reinterpretation of Lovecraft's mythos. Only your faithful AI can keep the creeping madness caused by Cthulhu's influence at bay, but not for very long. What happens when you toss a boomer shooter into a blender with Bioshock influences and an old-school cartoon? You get Mouse PI for Hire, a cute but violent first-person shooter that puts you in the gumshoes of a private detective looking to solve mysteries and punch faces. The game features hand-drawn 2D animation made to look like rubber hose cartoons, giving it a distinctly goofy and charming look in action. Capcom's been on a roll this year with the release of Resident Evil Requiem, a new Mega Man compilation, and more content for Street Fighter 6, but Pragmata could be its sleeper hit for 2026. You've got gameplay that shifts between hacking minigames and use-it-or-lose-it action, with a disposable arsenal of guns. Pragmata is shaping up to be the binary domain's spiritual successor we've been waiting years for, with its delightful co-leads of Hugh and Diana. We're also bracing for some emotionally impactful storytelling. Vampire Survivors consumed every waking moment after it was first released, and we're guessing that history will repeat itself when Vampire Crawlers emerges from the shadows. Developer Ponkel calls it a casual, turn-based deck builder with roguelite elements, but we're calling it a valid excuse for skipping work because we're just one run away from building a perfectly busted deck of cards for our next dungeon dive. Is the world ready for English game designer Peter Molyneux's redemption arc? The veteran has one more title up his sleeve, and he's headed back to God Game territory for Masters of Albion. Originally revealed during the 2024 edition of Gamescom Opening Night Live, Masters of Albion sees players build up a town by day with money and resources, and then defend their settlement at night from all manner of nasty creatures like ghouls and zombies. As the ultimate power, players will control their village and its citizens in this fusion of strategy, town management, and tower defense. This new game, based on Finland's greatest global export, will see players embark on a journey of connection and curiosity as the cuddly Moomin Troll. Sort of like Death Stranding, but without nightmare fuel hand monsters or celebrity cameos. After Moomin Troll wakes up early from hibernation and finds the familiar valley that he calls home covered in snow, he embarks on a quest to meet new friends and find warmth in the biting cold of winter in this cozy adventure. What happens when Life is Strange developer Dontnod decides to add some sci-fi terror and Jusant-like rock climbing to its signature formula for cinematic video games? You get Aphelion, a game in which an astronaut finds herself stranded on a remote planet at the edge of our solar system. Imagine Uncharted meets Alien Isolation, and you'll have a pretty good idea of what to expect from this sci-fi adventure. You just can't keep a primeval force of evil down for long in the Diablo universe, as Mephisto is up to his old tricks in the Lord of Hatred expansion. While the goal of tracking down the demonic Lord of Hell and giving him a good old-fashioned bop on the head with some cold steel is the big draw, players can also expect to master two new classes, the Paladin and the Warlock. You can also explore the legendary region of Skovos, take part in overhauled endgame activities, and craft some new gear with the reimagined Horadric Cube. By the power of Grayskull, I have the power. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe are back for an old-school beat-em-up. Taking on the form of an action game that would look right at home on the SNES and Sega Genesis, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe Dragon Pearl of Destruction plays out like a typical Saturday morning episode of the classic animated series. Formula One hogs all the attention when it comes to motorsports, but for connoisseurs of riding irresponsibly fast on just two wheels, there's a new MotoGP game to look forward to in April. MotoGP 26 introduces a brand new physics system designed to give riders more control over their bikes, a revised career mode, and a new ranking system to show the strengths and weaknesses of each rider. Look, a fighting game featuring the toughest brawlers of the Invincible universe in 3v3 combat sounds great, especially when you don't have to worry about a fight ending with Omni-Man turning your skull into modern art. Featuring fan-favorite characters, bone-breaking combos, and a variety of game modes, this is the first title from Quarter Up, a studio that includes several Killer Instinct veterans. Inkombini is a cozy slice-of-life sim about running a small-town convenience store. Inspired by the Japanese supermarkets of the 90s, this simulator is all about human connection and everyday moments, as you restock shelves, order goods, and get to know your customers better in the process. Housemarque's next game once again throws you into bullet hell, but the difference here is that Saros wants you to be aggressive and gung-ho as you pursue answers in the shape-shifting world of Carcosa. Each run gives you a second chance to escape death, there's a high-tech arsenal of weaponry to collect, and permanent upgrades will allow you to come back stronger from each death. You'll still need to stay on your toes in each fight, however, as the eclipse affecting Carcosa and its inhabitants has transformed the planet into one of the deadliest places in the cosmos. Okay, those are the biggest games of April. See you next month.